Please.
I woke up to pounding on the door. Flashing lights lit up my wall like a war zone. Outside, armored officers and National Guard stormed from house to house, hauling rifles, pistols, and shotguns out in crates. I froze. My safe was full. Guns I'd legally owned for years, suddenly illegal. Overnight, every gun-owning American had become a criminal. It sounds impossible, right? We're Americans. The Second Amendment protects the right to keep and bear arms. That's carved in stone. But so was alcohol once. So were freedoms during wartime, and governments have rewritten guaranteed rights before. To pull this off, they'd have to rewrite or repeal the Constitution. It's never been done. But plenty of politicians and lobbyists have been pushing for it. And even if Congress passed sweeping bans, enforcing them would be a nightmare. We're not talking about a few thousand guns. We're talking over 450 million firearms in civilian hands. More guns than people. And add in ghost guns, 3D printed weapons, and smuggled firearms, and confiscating them all becomes a logistical war. But history shows it's not impossible. After the Port Arthur massacre in 1996, Australia bought back and destroyed over 650,000 guns. The country only has 26 million people. America has 340 million. Now imagine scaling that up. This wouldn't be a law. It would feel like an act of war. Across town, criminals weren't lining up to hand in their AR-15s. The gangs and the cartels still had theirs. The balance of power in America had shifted. Suburban families had no means of protection. Rural ranchers who relied on rifles for predator control, helpless. Police were suddenly the only legally armed force. History has a dark lesson about what happens when governments hold all the power and the citizens have none. I called a buddy of mine, a Marine veteran. He laughed bitterly. You think guys like me are turning in our rifles? Not a chance. He wasn't alone. Millions of Americans, veterans, hunters, competitive shooters, would see this as tyranny. In 1775, British troops marched to Concord to seize colonial weapons. That was the spark of the Revolutionary War. Now fast forward to today, militias would form overnight. Cities might comply, but rural counties wouldn't. Law enforcement would be torn between enforcing orders and protecting their communities. We'd be a matchstick away from a second civil war. Picture this. You're driving home, and you see armored vehicles rolling through your neighborhood. Curfews are in place. There are checkpoints at every intersection. Martial law. Now, we've seen glimpses of this before. After Hurricane Katrina, police went door to door confiscating firearms. In 2023, National Guard troops were deployed to U.S. cities to curb violent crime. And it's happening again right now in cities like D.C. and Chicago. Now scale that up nationwide, and suddenly, America feels like a war zone. Enforcing a gun ban this size would crush our economy. Rationing would start. Gun manufacturers would be shut down or driven underground. Ranchers, security contractors, and private ranges gone overnight. Wall Street would nosedive, but the black market would explode. Let's say you comply. The guns are gone. What's left to defend your family? History tells us humans always adapt. You'd see pepper spray on every keychain. Martial arts schools packed with new students learning Krav Maga, Jiu-Jitsu, and boxing. Blunt weapons like baseball bats and tactical batons in every home. Even ancient weapons, bows, crossbows, swords, would make a comeback. Doors would be reinforced, panic rooms installed, and cameras mounted on every porch. Without firearms, security would become a luxury for those who could afford it. And here's the brutal truth. Guns wouldn't disappear. Look at Mexico. Strict gun laws haven't disarmed the cartels. They have military-grade weapons. Civilians are left helpless. In a post-ban America, a $500 Glock could fetch $10,000 on the street. Criminal organizations would become the new arms dealers. The average person? Powerless. I thought of my father's old hunting rifle. For rural families, hunting isn't just a pastime. It's survival. In remote Alaska, Montana, or the Dakotas, hunting puts meat in the freezer. It's also a key part of conservation. Hunters fund billions for wildlife through restoration, taxes, and licenses. Ban guns, and not only does that food source vanish, But wildlife populations spiral out of control. Just look at Australia, where feral animal numbers exploded after the buyback. The ripple effect would devastate rural America. Now, this isn't just speculation. We've seen this play out before. United Kingdom, after the Dunblane school shooting, handguns were banned. Gun crime fell, but knife crime skyrocketed. The country now faces a stabbing epidemic. Australia, gun-related deaths dropped after the buyback, but home invasions surged as criminals exploited defenseless homeowners. Venezuela, in 2012, private gun sales were banned. Within years, gangs took control of neighborhoods. Civilians had no way to resist. Japan, gun ownership is heavily restricted, but their low crime rate is due to cultural cohesion and strict policing, factors that simply can't be replicated in America. This isn't just about crime, it's about power. The Second Amendment wasn't written for hunting. It was written to protect citizens from tyranny. A disarmed population is a vulnerable one. History has shown what happens when governments have a monopoly on force, and it's rarely good. So, what if guns were banned in America tomorrow? We'd see chaos, a surge in crime, martial law, a black market arms race, collapsed conservation programs, a cultural shift that would take generations to reverse. Violence wouldn't disappear. It would just take on new forms. Knives, bats, bombs, even cars. The idea of a gun-free utopia is a fantasy. Education, training, and responsible gun ownership are the real answers. If this happened tomorrow, would you turn in your guns? Comment down below. Like, subscribe, and share this with someone who thinks banning guns will fix everything.
Please.
I gotta go.